You dumb bastard, you just stopped my dad. He's dead. He's not gonna feel anything. Oh, okay. Here's your opportunity.
Here it is.
What'd you just call me?
How the fuck is a ghost making footstep sounds?
No. Like, you know how I sleep?
How do you sleep?
Laying down.
You're a bitch.
All right, so hey, once again, everybody, this is everybody tuning in on YouTube and everywhere else. This is LTG coming at you with PSS After Hours. Got Rod sitting in the co-host as always.
Trying to find the Facebook Live.
Hey, how are you?
Just doing good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
Just here?
How do you sleep?
Yeah, I know, right?
How do you sleep?
Oh, how do I sleep?
Yeah.
Shit, man, I got no sleep.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, only when I get the gummies. I know.
No. Like, you know how I sleep?
How do you sleep?
Laying down.
You're a bitch.
Oh, shit. I can never give a stupid joke because, it's always me. Fuck me.
Dude, that's like a dad joke. That's something I should be saying, not you.
It's my dad's joke, okay?
Yeah.
They call him, how do you sleep? Just laying down.
Yeah.
My eyes closed.
That's something I should be saying, not you, dummy. All right. So, last story. We got Brayden back with us again.
Last story was pretty interesting.
Last story was pretty interesting.
Think of it into bed.
Kind of makes us go. It kind of makes me even say, well, it's worthy of looking at.
Yeah, it is.
Right? I mean, really, where else do you have more dead bodies than a hospital?
The funeral home?
Yeah, battlefield maybe, right? Like
the cemetery.
Even a funeral home, that person majority of the time, has passed away at a hospital, gone to the funeral home. Majority of the time. Now, there are times, like I talked about in the last one, where we got 6 people and they go directly to the funeral home. And they, but still, you guys kind of feel my point, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll just leave that be. Let's go on to another story that Brayden had. The last one he shared with us was about the morgue and transporting bodies down there, which let's focus on that once again for a second. Brayden, is there any way in your head you can give me because once again, I'm curious about this stuff. No, not a kiss. Just a light little love tap.
A little smooch.
A little smooch. Just on the cheek. Just on the cheek. And then when you go in for the cheek, I go, oh.
He wants you to play with his beard. Like,
yeah, right?
No.
Just feel the beard. Feel the beard. Fear the beard. All right. So the last story that you told, how much of that can you attribute, do you think, the creepiness of being the fact that you're all alone, you're in a area by yourself, and you're with a dead body, as opposed to it possibly being something paranormal or supernatural that you felt?
See, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel anything and everything that could and can happen, I feel there's usually always an explanation behind it.
Right.
I guess also in a sense if it's like blatantly obvious.
But what would you consider blatantly obvious?
Like, let's say, say like you feel like a bunch of like cold air, but it's say like you could see that there's an air vent and it's actively blowing cold air, or if like the door's open and it's really cold outside and that air's just rushing in.
Right. Looking for the most simple explanation.
Yeah. Or, I guess like another thing is like, in some like older buildings typically made out of wood, it's like you can hear footsteps or whatever, but you also got to think it could be hot during the day, and as it cools down during the night, that building is contracting because it's getting cold.
Yep.
So it could sound like there are footsteps or that it's, that it's creaking. That's easily explainable without a doubt. But there are some other times where you can be in an area where that's not necessarily possible, and you start to think, well, how can this be? So you start looking for answers, and sometimes you may not find an explanation for it. So then you start to think, what could this be?
Let me ask you guys this, because I want your opinions on this, because this is one of the things that I asked in my paranormal investigation classes too. So if you hear footsteps, right? Because I've talked to people and they've heard footsteps, right? Coming upstairs, supposedly quote unquote running at them. How do I put this as delicately as possible? Fuck it. Yeah, I'll just say it. How the fuck is a ghost making footstep sounds? It's a ghost. It's an apparition. It's not something that can physically manifest itself to the point that it can make steps. Yes, maybe you could see it in a blurry picture or something, but the fact that it's now making footsteps?
Yeah, but what about a poltergeist?
Dude. What about a poltergeist?
They're ghosts. They can't physically go and open those drawers, right? They can't physically go and move the mic back and forth, right?
Well, supposedly poltergeists can.
Well, how?
Poltergeists...
how? They're an apparition.
Okay, so poltergeists then are the majority of the things when we hear when it's footsteps, it's a poltergeist?
I don't know.
See, I don't either. That's one of my points. That's why I look at this and I just say...
how come a poltergeist can't just go and pick shit up?
I don't know. And now you bring up another interesting point.
You're the one studying this shit.
I know, that's what I'm saying, and there's no answer. That's my point. Yeah. That's the thing that bugs me so much is there's no point to this. There's no definite answers on what makes a particular phenomena real or not.
Yeah.
There isn't. I'm sorry, there's not. I look at all this shit and I look at all the information and the classes that I've taken, and it really comes down to personal beliefs and what you think you experienced. Now, I'm not saying there aren't times with elevator lobby, like we've talked about, where you exhaust all rational explanations.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that I don't think this shit occurs nearly as much as people think it does. Just because it's a place that's spooky, a little bit scary, you have some dead bodies in the area. There's nothing against you, Brayden. Please don't take it that way. Because I'm talking about everybody. I'm even talking about who we're going to have on with the supposed haunted doll.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I look at all this and I say, okay, let's look at real explanations for this. All right, let me just end it there. Let me end it there because I go down a whole nother rabbit hole with this. I want to hear Brayden's other story that he was talking to us about.
All right, Brayden.
Is this up at the hospital as well?
Yeah, it was still up at the hospital.
All right, here we go. We're now building the case more, right? All right, let's go.
So I would say this particular call was probably about a week and a half ago. So before I actually really get into it, we also, on top of like a radio and keys and all that other fun stuff, we also have a pager. So something that's not necessary for it to come over the radio, it'll come over the pager. But both ended up happening. And much like, how you mentioned, not saying the name of the hospital, that this other company that comes in and brings people in, I'm not going to say that name either because I feel it'd just be kind of, I guess, obvious at that point. But we get a call that a bird's bringing in a patient from, I think just over the point of the mountain because I think something traumatic happened. I want to say it was either a car accident or something. But their legs were barely intact by the time that we intercepted them on the helipad. So we go out, get them, and we're given clear instructions, take these guys to the ER. Well,
How many people?
So it was me, the guy working the ED that night, and then
Tell me what ED is.
The emergency department. But you could also say emergency room, but it's whatever you'd like, I guess. And then whatever medics were on that bird, I think there was at least 2 or 3 performing whatever they could with whatever equipment they had. And then a couple of the nurses and doctors came out so that they could try to do what they can to stabilize them before we got to the OR. But, we had to, take that same route as if, let's say, someone passed away. We had to go through that same route because that's the only way that our gurneys, our stretchers are going to fit in those elevators. There's no other way. But on our way down there, we had to cross through the regular visitor hallway to get into the staff hallway to get to the staff elevators. But me and the other guy that I'm working with down in the ED, we see something out of the corner of our eye down at the far end of the hallway. So on this side of the hallway, we see something out of the corner of our eye, but we're going the complete opposite direction. We both turn and look, And it's this darker, shadowy figure, kind of just. It looks like it's holding its arms up like this. Like it might maybe do something. We don't know, but we could make out at least the arms. We don't see as much detail, like fingers, because that would take some effort by said thing to manifest that much, to be able to see that much detail. But we could at least see hair. We don't see eyes, mouth, nose, all that fun stuff. We turn, look at it, and we're both a little creeped out by it. But as we...
Well, so as you looked at it, did it just stay there, or did it disappear?
No, it stood there for a hot minute, and we both felt kind of intimidated by it, the way that it was standing at that end of the hallway. So what our plan was is like, okay, we're going to take this individual up to the OR where they're needing to go and make sure that we get the necessary info so we can do our individual reports on that incident. But he's like, you know what, Brayden, fuck it. We're going to go down there and see if it's still there. We get down there, still there, but it's further away. So we go try to get closer to it, so approach it.
And it's just standing there the whole time.
It's standing there the whole time, and then something gets our attention behind us because we were stopped by one of the ER techs. And then we turn back and look. It's not there no more. So seeing that, not knowing necessarily what it was definitely a little freaky. We were thinking maybe, because like each like different like personnel there, they wear different clothing and all this other stuff. So we were thinking maybe someone had their back to us and they were possibly doing something else. So that would probably explain why you couldn't see like eyes, nose, mouth, that kind of thing, and not being able to make out everything else. But the thing is, it was like almost like you could see through it. So that was kind of...
So how far away was this from you guys?
I'd say, because the hallways there, they're pretty lengthy. So I think from where we were at the elevators, from the one end down to the other, so from where the elevators are, I'd say between 50 and 100 feet, if not maybe a little more. But I don't know. It was definitely creepy just to see, because us not knowing what it was and trying to figure out, could this be explainable? Just someone had their back to us,
right,
working on something. Because some of the maintenance guys, they wear all black. And like us, we have like we tend to wear all black too. So maybe thinking it was one of the other guys just standing down at the end of the hallway checking something out. But after us turning away because we got caught off guard by one of the ER techs, and then looking back, nothing there. But the thing is, at that end of the hallway, there's nowhere else to go. It's like a dead end, because it's like utility closets and all that other stuff.
All right.
So it's like, where could this thing have gone? So we try looking back on cameras, and absolutely nothing. You don't even see anything on cameras, which is probably the weirder part about it. And I definitely think that was probably more, I wouldn't say one of the more creepier things that's happened there. Because we kind of blew it off. We didn't really care about it in the moment because we were already preoccupied with something else. We're just, we'll just go check on it later. But not saying anything after that. It was kind of...
But did you guys talk about it and be like, did you see that? I saw that. What was that?
We both looked at each other, like in the moment of us with that patient, and then after the fact. And we're like, no, like, what the fuck was that? And then we just go back into the ED, sit at the security desk, and just shoot the shit for the rest of the night. And then nothing really ever came of it.
Nothing else?
No, nothing else.
So what... Let me ask this, if you know, what do you think it was then?
No idea.
Do you think it was... let me ask you this. Do you know the person that you guys brought in, did they pass away? Or did they
No, they definitely made it, got them up there in time. They were, the surgeons up there were able to work their magic, and they're good. Because before we finish our report, we called up there to make sure, see what the status was, so that way we can just kind of update it as we go from there. But towards the end of the shift, we got a call back from that particular OR that they're like, yeah, they're good now. They're stable enough for us to put them in a room in the main building. So they fortunately made it, but I mean, thinking of it now, it could honestly be something, I mean, anything explainable. Like I was mentioning, it could have been
a shadow.
Yeah, from maybe someone down there, or could have maybe been one of us, but the fact of how far it would have had to have gone down there and not reflecting off the floor like a normal shadow does.
Have you seen anything like that since?
Since then, no. Just because I'm mainly more upstairs in the main building, so I'm rarely down there, unless if that particular guard wants me down there just to hang out with them. If it's just absolutely dead up where I'm normally at. So I rarely go down there. So I
just because you have no reason to be there.
Yeah, I'd have no reason to be there. So I just don't go down there. So
now, as the person that's down there, have they seen a lot of weird shit, or have they said anything?
Everyone that's usually down there, because shift change, they tend to really hear things, say things, but it's kind of something that's explainable. Like they'll hear like whispers or something, but it's usually a couple of the techs like just talking quietly, because some of the things that most people talk about there is kind of like confidential stuff they don't want other people to hear. So that's usually obviously explainable. But usually a lot of the time you hear whispering and you think you're alone. It's definitely a little creepy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So a lot of the times with them, it being in the middle of the day, it tends to just be explainable.
But even then, even if it's the middle of the day, you're in the basement with dead people. It's gonna feel a little creepy to begin with, right? So I think that's where minds start to wander a little bit, because I don't care who you tell. Even me, being a skeptic, put me in a basement and you say, yeah, all the dead bodies come down here. We transfer all the dead bodies down here. Even me being a skeptic, I'm going to go, that was a little creepy, dead bodies everywhere. Even though I've seen plenty, right? But it's not something normal for human beings to just sit around dead bodies, right? So it's a little bit weird. So that's where I just look at all this and I say, well, dude, I want you to do some prying. I want you to start talking to the people that work down there on graves and everything, and just start saying, tell me everything you've seen.
You know what you can do?
Have them come on here, because I want to sit down and I want to have a little, face-to-face discussion to kind of.
You know what you can do? You can even grab a notebook, right, and write that person's name, and just take notes of the most important things that you notice about them. How do they react to talking about that? Because just like I told you, when I talked to Ramon about that little girl and the hot breakfast, he seemed freaked out. Like, he seemed scared, like straight up.
Right.
And I know he wouldn't lie.
Right.
So you can tell when somebody's lying.
Sure.
So I think you can do the same thing, honestly. Like, you can tell when somebody's lying to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a problem. I can definitely do that, because I always carry a little notebook with me that's got all the different details.
And you know what's pretty interesting about this? Sorry to interrupt you. Is that he had been asking me already, when are we going to record? When are you going to invite me over?
Well, here it is.
Here's your opportunity.
Here it is.
What'd you just call me?
Brayden.
So that's, once again, that kind of goes to what we're talking about, is that I always look for the most rational explanation.
Of course. And I do the same thing too. Before you even trying to be like, oh, it's a ghost.
Yeah.
I try to find the most reasonable explanation to it. Like just like being at the Grand Hall during the semi-date night. You know, like it could either be the noise outside. It could either be a fucking, how spirit boxes work nowadays. Like,
Yep.
Can be a radio transmission.
Exactly.
Anything. It could be anything.
Exactly. So that's why I just want to start checking with as many people as you possibly can over there, and let's start getting as many of these stories as we can, especially where you are. It seems like kind of a hotbed, so to speak. And if they want, come on here and sit down because I want to ask him. I want to talk to him about it.
I think what's mostly going on there is the energies, because the body releases energy. Once you pass away, there's an energy, you know.
Well,
even
arguably that occurs. I don't know. I mean, it's going to take a lot more convincing.
Well, yeah, for sure.
me on this one.
But my friend, I'd say that he's willing to bring his recorder so you can listen to it.
No, I want to hear that too, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm all for it.
Jared, if you're watching this, dude, you need to come.
We get that stuff. We get that stuff kind of in the bank and kind of done, so to speak, and then we go there and we check it out.
Even then, I think that thing has a memory card, so we can just slide it into one of them, put it in the thing, and we can just, with the click of a button, we can listen to it right here.
Yeah, I'm interested. Clearly interested. I think that's one of the things that we're going to be doing in the future is actually going on location to places more, especially here in the Salt Lake Valley, because I think that's something that would be really cool. Is if we have some video of us going to these different places. I think
we're gonna go camping here pretty soon, and I think we're gonna go to Immigration Canyon, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. And I've heard some stories about it. I'll tell you off camera.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So anything else there, Brayden, with that one?
So far, that's really it. Just because with me being like upstairs on the main floor in the main building, I don't really go down to like the ED anymore. And a lot of the times there is somebody that it's designated, like their main job is to transport the bodies. But there are some days where if that person's not available, I'll be the one to end up doing it. So it just depends. If I end up going down that far or not. But other than that, I usually just sit at the desk in the main building.
But can you actually, are you just designated to that area, or can you actually go into other areas in the hospital?
No, yeah, I can go into other areas of the hospital, like the heart and lung building. I can go to.
Yeah, like if you want to walk around, like you want to be like, you know what? I feel like patrolling this area. I'm going to go there.
Yeah, because I'm just the main inside guy. So we're not just stuck to just the main like patient building. It's anything on the inside. So like the heart and lung, the main building, women's center.
How many dead bodies do you think you've transported around the morgue area?
I'd say at least on my own, at least a dozen, if not a little bit more than that.
Now, every time something weird happened, or very sporadically?
I think very sporadically, but I think it's also just the fact that, you have a dead body in front of you, you're pushing it into that refrigerated room. So I think that definitely obviously gives it some creepy vibes because, as mentioned earlier, not everyone's going to do that. They're going to be like, no, I don't associate with that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple times where once you get them in that refrigerator room, you have to kind of get them up on the lift or whatever, and put them on I wouldn't say designated shelf, but sometimes you do have to actually touch them. Body. Yeah. So it's definitely you touch it, but you obviously have gloves on because
stay there. Bitch.
Yeah. That's after you secure it, so it doesn't fall off.
Yeah, exactly.
But you touch it with gloves because even when it's in the bag, it's at that point a biohazard.
Oh yeah.
So, touching them through the bag and through the gloves, it's kind of, in my opinion, kind of fucking gross.
Well, it's creepy. It's a dead body. Yeah. And
there's been a couple of times where, not actually taking them down to the morgue, but a mortuary service will come pick them up if they're not in there. We'll take them up to the room, and there's been a couple of times where they're not in a bag at all.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, probably the more creepy part is actually seeing them.
Oh, absolutely.
Not in a bag.
Yeah.
But we don't actually touch them. We just, the sheet that they're on,
that
they lay them on, that's on the bed. We pick them up by that and gently move them over and gently place them down. And they cover them. We'll strap them down so they don't fall off because that's going to scar some people if it does.
Can you imagine, dude, if my dad fell off a bed and I was watching somebody transporting him when he passed away, I'd fucking freak out. Be like, you dumb bastards.
You dumb bastards, you just dropped my dad. Yeah. He's dead. He's not going to feel anything. Oh, okay.
But still, it's your fucking loved one, man. You want them to be treated with respect.
You know, my brother is a dick. Quick story: when he was in Mexico, and he would go pick up the dead bodies from the scene. You know, like he would go pick them up, transport them back to the funeral home, and then he would go in the room and talk to the people as they were like prepping the body. You know, just usual. And he said the one day they were fucking bringing a dead body in, right? And he was in the casket. So the casket hits the corner of like a little thing that they had, like a little table that they have right there. And the lady's like, "Oh, please be careful, son." And my brother's like, "It's already dead. It's not gonna feel anything." And I was like, "You're a fucking dick, dude."
Yeah, that's being a bit of a douche, man. It's somebody's loved one, man.
Yeah,
right?
he is a dick.
Like that's somebody's loved one. It's somebody that somebody cares about. You know, yeah, it may not be there anymore. Spirit, whatever. We're gonna, you know, whatever anybody may think, but still, you gotta have some respect for.
Yeah, Brayden.
Not Brayden. Brayden didn't do anything.
27 minutes. You want to add anything else?
No, man. I like the fact that we're hearing some more stuff from
they're like
different locales.
It was weird because at one point we were just recording and we were not getting anything. We were just getting stories from online, and now we're like getting stories from people, and it's pretty interesting.
You know, it's good stuff, man. This is gonna be good. It's gonna be good. We got a lot of good stuff in the pipe. So,
Brayden, anything else you want to add? Like your social media, you know. Follow Brayden on Facebook. Brayden Medici is single and ready to mingle.
All right, Rod.
All right, where can they send those mail to?
Send us any emails that you have to paranormalafterhours@gmail.com.
You guys can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch as PSS After Hours.
Like I said, hey, once again, this is LTG signing off with Rod and with Brayden once again. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in on this one. Things are going to get a lot better. Trust me. We got a lot of cool things that are in the pipe and ready to go. Remember, be safe, watch a 6, keep your powder dry, and Rod, always remember,
things are going to get a little weird.
Yes, they will. Peace. We're out.